Brad, that's okay. I thought maybe it was the wrong place and the wrong time. I wasn't sure.
Well, worse has been said about me. How are you? It's
nice
great to see you.
Thank you.
Would you like some coffee, something hot?
Water. Hot water with a little lemon.
Okay. Fiona, can some hot water with lemon for Casey, and I want my usual hot coffee, please. Thank you very much. And welcome to you. We are here live, Lemack and Company, this evening with Casey Kasem. Phone number on your screen, so please use it. I think this is a show you want to give us a call and participate in.
Thank you.
How are you?
Hi, Brad. How are you?
Dear. Good.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you. Where else would I be at this? This is my place. 22 years in radio, 12 years on television.
I wish it were only 22 years in radio.
It's more than that?
It's 22 years counting down the hits on the top 40.
Oh.
And 12 years on TV.
And
but going back to 1950 is when I started, so that gives me how many years?
well,
My God. Is that 41 years? Say it's 31
no,
years.
we don't have to admit
All
it.
right. But that's when I
And one
started.
appearance at Lemack and Company.
That's right.
I'm
Well,
delighted to see you.
It's a pleasure to see you. We see each other, or at least we talk to each other every year for the big charity event that you sort of take care of in Beverly Hills.
And I was at
raises
one.
about $1 million.
Yes, coming up again for Concern Foundation.
Well, we'd like
at
to
the
be
end of
there.
May. You will be.
Thank you.
I promise. You, the wife, and then the baby, too.
The baby's becoming a big star on her own.
Yes.
She's been on television about 4 or 5 times, God bless her. And we did the Sally Jesse show and CBS show and a couple others and local shows too. And she's such a doll.
Well, the
Wanna see
baby
a
was a
picture
long
of her?
time coming. Yes,
I
do you
brought
have
a
one?
picture, okay. You know her name is Liberty.
Yes.
And if it had been a boy, it would have been Justice. Because the baby was supposed to be coming on July the 4th. But she didn't come July 4th. She came a little bit early. But
Oh, what
I'll
a
hold a picture up. I don't know if they can
fabulous
see it.
picture. I hope the people at home can see this.
She's an
She
angel, but all
looks-
babies are angels. They just all are, and you just love
I
them.
wasn't. No.
You weren't?
No, you call my mother later. She'll tell you I was. Oh, what a beautiful
Thank you
baby.
so much.
I'm glad they are well.
Well, I'm delighted, and we thank God every minute that we have such a beautiful child, and she's just so focused. You know, she's going to be an activist just like Jean and I are.
Well, you know, it's interesting about you that you have become as visible as you are from the shows that you do, the television and radio. You have become equally visible getting behind causes, issues, people, when you believe that the things they had to say were exactly what you thought needed to be said.
Correct.
And not necessarily quietly. I guess what I love the most about this is that you've used your celebrity visibility to try and make a difference. And again, not quietly, because it's created some controversy too.
I used to be quiet. I was quiet during the Vietnam War, and I did a lot of talking, but I only talked to people that I knew. And what I should have been doing is probably getting out there and stretching out in front of some of those buses that were shipping supplies to Vietnam. And but this time I knew that I had to do more than that. And all of the things that I'm into, I like it to be hands-on and not just talk, because there's so many people who talk and don't do much. God bless them for even thinking about it, because that's important too. You plant seeds when you tell people things that you believe in. But you have to get out there and you have to hit the rallies, and you have to use all of your resources to do whatever you can to turn things around and make this world a better place. And so that's why we're involved the way we are, and that's why we're outspoken and visible and so on.
Do you ever think that there's a certain risk that comes with being outspoken? You know, do you ever run the risk of, example, politically, you were one of the strongest supporters of Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
Is there a risk that you lose fans who don't share that support? And secondarily, with this whole Middle East situation, you know, when you are visible and vocal and take a stand in that kind of a situation, do you run the risk of losing the same people for the same kind of reasons?
I don't think so, and the reason I say that is because I give people more credit than that. I think people know that I'm coming from sincerity. I'm coming from a belief that is not for popularity, but because I really truly believe that what I'm saying people should hear. And so people recognize that, and they don't agree with you necessarily. For instance, in this town, when I took a position with regard to the Arab-Israeli conflict and was outspoken, and I remember Jews who came to me and said, Casey, we don't agree with what you say, but say it.
But we respect your right to be able to
We respect
say
you for
it.
saying it and say it. And people whose names you would know, comics, actors, people who I have a lot of respect for.
But a lot of the things that you've said, other people were afraid to say. In a way, it's almost a fear of controversy. But this may not be so much about controversy as it is about the ability to have open dialogue about issues that people may be afraid of because they just don't know enough about.
Well, you know, what I decided to do back about 5 or 6 years ago was to try to build some bridges between Arabs and Jews. And so I met a counterpart named Zev Putterman, who was trying to do the same thing. And so he and I met a third person, an attorney, a Jewish attorney, who had created an organization called Foundation for Mideast Communication. And we've had over 30 workshops in this town, 1- and 2-day workshops, and over 100 of them across the U.S. and in Jerusalem. So I'm a member of the board of directors, and I feel proud that we were able to do something that I thought was very important if we're ever going to settle a situation in the Middle East, and that is people being able to open up their hearts and their eyes and their ears and their minds to one another and to reach out for one another's humanity.
Do you think we live in almost a society that's an array of misconception? We have, or people, it's easy to formulate opinions, the stereotypes, that are often what put people at odds against each other.
No question about it. Look what's happened to some ethnic groups that have been stereotyped. The Hispanics, for years in motion pictures, stereotyped. The Asian Pacifics, the same way. Look at the American Indian, the Native Americans. 2,000 motion pictures made about them, and there couldn't be half a dozen of them that were fair and had balance. Most of them called them savages, and whenever they fought back, it was a massacre. And when the Bluecoats fought, they were the heroes. So the motion pictures have done a job on ethnic groups, and certainly even the blacks, going back to the motion picture Birth of a Nation, if you remember that one back in the early part of the century. And then the Arabs, same thing, belly dancers, bombers, and billionaires. You mention Arab, you hear terrorist, and that's what in the past 70 years Hollywood has managed to do to the image of Arabs.
And really in most recent history, the conflict that, well, on one hand we are through with a piece of it, I don't think we're through necessarily in the Middle East, brings this fear up again with people. And I heard stories in the news that people were taking out their bigotry and their fear against people who weren't even nationalities of the countries involved, but they looked like, they sounded like, it was enough of a similarity that it made them crazy.
Sure. Well, the example, there was an Iranian Jew who owned a shop, I think, on Fairfax, and it was firebombed because the person thought it was an Arab. So you have those kind of people who are racist and who discriminate, and you give them any kind of fuel, and they jump to it. And that's what movies and television have done for so many years with ethnic groups. And now there's become balance in most ethnic groups. If you have a bad guy who's an Hispanic, he's arrested by a cop who's from East LA. And the same with blacks and Asian Pacifics. But not the case with Arabs. But we're going to change it. And I think Arabs have to change it on their own. They have to write letters, and they have to build bridges to the media, and that's what we've been doing with the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee.
But so too does everybody. And this dialogue is the continued steps in the right direction. We are here live with Casey Kasem at Lemack and Company. Pull up a chair, give us a phone call. Who would like to talk to us? And we'll go to the telephones. Getting technical. Hello, you're on the air. What is your name?
Yes, this is Mary.
Hello, what is your question, please?
Yes, most people have been stereotyped. Everybody is stereotyped. At one time or another, we've all been there. And it's up to each one of us individually. Because if one of us acts bad, right away we're labeled a miserable black, a miserable Jew, a miserable Arab. One bad person spoils the whole barrel. And that's why we have to be so careful of not repeating this.
Would you think, too, that a lot of that has to do with how parents teach their kids and the lessons they get at home?
Ignorance.
I think so, and I think also...
And also, what perpetuates it, I'm very sorry to say this, that as an interviewer, you're coming across, you'd play both ends against the middle. If it was somebody who had a view different than Casey's, you would be sympathetic with them.
No, I don't think
Not
so.
giving-
No, I don't think that that's true. I think that...
Well, it's true for me that you're coming across this way.
Oh, it's not meant that way at all, and I don't consider myself...
You're coming across this way.
Okay, well, let me clarify
The
that.
things that first and foremost, you should be an American.
Uh-huh.
We should all be American.
Uh-huh.
No matter what our heritage is. If we're here and we're living here, we should be an American and look at it not as an Arab, not as a Jew, we have to be Americans.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your call. The point needs to be made
I
clear.
recognize that.
Too,
I think that's an important point.
I think that we don't try and come across being anything. We come across as being concerned, which is, I hope, what we are.
I think we even have to go a step above that. We have to be human beings, and we have to be citizens of the world, really. We, as Americans, we have to realize that that makes us no better or no worse than anybody else. We're just people, and we happen to be in a country that is such a large, powerful military might that we have an opportunity now, for the first time probably in the history of the world, we've got that window to change things and to truly make a brighter tomorrow.
Probably for the first time in a
Yeah,
very
I think so. I hope we can do that.
284-8012, Lemack and Company Live. Good evening, you're next. Hello? Hello, you're on Lemack and Company.
Hi, I have a question for Casey.
Sure.
I just saw that he was involved pretty heavily with the Teach Love, Not War effort, and I was curious about who sponsors that and how I could get involved, because it seems great.
Did you see was there a teach-in or something? I'm sorry.
It's a Teach Love, Not War.
Oh, well, I don't know specifically which organization you're talking about, but I happen to be someone who believes in nonviolence.
The concept.
Yeah, the concept of nonviolence, and I believe now, that's why I was hoping that this past war could have been averted, and we could have avoided it, and we could have solved our problems diplomatically, because if we don't begin to do that, ultimately, there are going to be more countries that have hydrogen weapons. There are 12 now, and probably in the next 20 years, there may be double that. And there's a good chance we're going to end the world and we're going to wipe ourselves off the planet unless we learn to live with one another. And the real basis for that is to begin to think nonviolently and begin to recognize that there are great minds in this country and in the whole world that are capable of solving problems diplomatically, through conflict resolution, through dialogue. Now, look at this. We can send a man to the moon. We can send missiles up in the sky that catch other missiles. We have airplanes that radar can't detect. We have tanks that can think while they're going 60 miles an hour. We do all of this stuff technically, sort of third wave kind of warfare. Yet we haven't evolved to the point where people can sit across the table from one another and solve their problems. What a sad state. It's uncivilized, isn't it? It's archaic to think that we have to continue to fight with weapons to solve our problems.
Good question. Thank you for calling. You know, the ability to sit down, and I've always, in not taking any sides, because I'm playing this very in the middle, because this is how I feel about this issue. You often wonder whether it has to do with school issues or city issues or international issues. Did anybody ever stop and think, hey, sit down and have a cup of coffee, come here, we have a table, we drink coffee, we talk about things that are on our minds. Why not something like that?
We have to do more of that. We really do, and I think the United Nations is a good place to start.